Hi, it's Roger here with our Q&A video for our Genius Entrepreneur Mastermind June 2018. And I am super excited for all the new people who have come and joined our group, and also for the World Game, which is launched. We have already got to our very first, 50,000 of our giving impacts already. We've exceeded that already. We've got to think about 1,600 people or more already who are playing the game, who have taken the 10 times your impact micro degree, which just finished yesterday and now kind of like leads us into the game. So if you haven't yet got started, I've put a link down below to play the game and to be involved in the next 6 months, where we have a very, very exciting target of 10 million giving impacts we're going to be making. Plus, there's a link to the 10 times your impact micro degree, which I highly recommend you take between now and our next call, because it actually includes probably the best, definitely the best summary. There's a guide in there for the impact meter. So it actually takes you through every one of the steps, and it also will kind of take you through the videos to explain it much, much better than anything else I've put together so far. So have that as a bit of homework and inspiration. Okay. Questions. This is the other thing I'm excited about. We have some really, really awesome questions. So for those who are new, there's a whole bunch of really great explanations as to what you're doing. And so for those who are looking to connect with others in other parts of the world, listen carefully as I go through this. And for those of you who've been on Genius Entrepreneur Mastermind for a while, like, congratulations, because there's been some really awesome progress that everyone's been making as well. And I've actually got, with a lot of you, this kind of shift that's happened from kind of going, red to orange, orange to yellow, some of you orange, yellow to green level. And I'm seeing just from their progress, we don't have any infrared to red questions this month, which is kind of first time ever, really. So congrats on all of that. But let's just jump into it, right? Let's do it. So first of all, I'm going to start with the one general question we have before we get into the spectrum level questions, which I've organized into the different areas. So we're going to kind of like take it as we go. So the very first question here is from Marie Rosika in Seattle, in America, who says, when you're comparing your journals, what was the most surprising future vision that you had foretold? So for those of you who were listening to one of my videos, which I think was one of my Facebook Lives, I talked about journaling, and I talked about how I'd been at an event where I had about 2 other people around me that were also journaling, and we just kind of compared journals. And one of them had a journal which was very much like, here's what happens each day. Kind of like when you're at school, you're kind of like, it's like, here's my journal, here's what happened. Next day, here's what happened. Whereas the other one had like much more analysis of the past. It's like, why did that thing happen that way? What did I learn from that? So one was like present focus, one was past focus. And I thought, wow, everything I do is future focused, right? It's like my entire journal is always about the future. So I'm always writing about what's going to happen by the end of the year, what's going to happen 10 years from now, what's going to be happening at the end of next week, and it's always written not like I hope this happens. It's always written like it's happening or will happen, right? It's kind of like, by actually setting it up where it's just a done deal, it's pretty amazing just how much of it happens. And that's probably the biggest thing that's a surprising thing for me is how few people do this. When I go back and I read my journals from like 10 years ago, it's incredible how like it's all either happened or is happening. Genius U. I still remember like writing down for the first time when I was in Silicon Valley and I was seeing these like billion-dollar businesses that were just out there impacting billions of people. And I said, that's what I'm going to do, right? And what would it look like, and how would it look? And what would it look like 10 years from now? And what would that 10-year plan look like? And we're on that plan right now, right? That's actually happening. The most surprising thing, I would say, is when I forget, because like I've got a bad memory, right? So I still remember when a couple of years ago, when we launched the Genius Cafe in Bali. And I still remember I was sitting there having a drink, looking out to the sea after it opened. And as I'm sitting there having a drink, I suddenly remembered, I'd totally forgotten, and I suddenly remembered that when I was like 20 years old, the first time with my map company, the first time that myself and my partner, Mike, we had this extra money at the end of the year, we went on this trip to Thailand, and we were sitting there like in a beach bar by the beach, very, very similar situation. And it was like same kind of like coconuts on the bar, and it was like, the whole kind of like, banana leaves on the roof. And he was saying to me, so what's your big vision? What do you want in the future? And I said, you know what? I would be so happy if one day I had like a beach bar on a tropical island on the beach looking out to sea, just having a margarita, right? It's like, that was it. That was like my dream, if I could actually do that one day. So here I am actually now, like sitting there at Genius Cafe, having a drink by the beach with the beach bar and thinking, oh my gosh, like I actually then wrote that in my journal and said, that's something that I was going to do. But I did that when I was like, 19, 20 years old. So it was like almost like 30 years ago when I did that. And I suddenly remembered it, right? So don't ever underestimate the power of visioning and seeing the future as well as you go forward, right? That's what I would say. Super exciting, no matter where you're at right now, to always look and see that you get to design your future. Okay, I'm going to come into quite a lot of red to orange questions. Those are the people who are kind of like getting into flow, and then I've got a whole bunch of orange to yellow. Plus we've got some yellow to green, green to blue as well. So let's just get into red to orange, which is basically how do you go from surviving, which is just having enough, to then actually getting to positive, through tapping into the flow, not your flow, but where the flow is in the market, and connecting to that. So we have here Nisha Dennison. Hi Roger, I'm exploring 2 HoloLens projects, conversations in nature talks, but have yet to identify a clear problem to solve. Meanwhile, while borrowing the HoloLens, I realized that I was going to be attending an MBS and art event. Why not use the HoloLens? I did an MBS tour at Earl's Court, which was awesome, and pursuing art tours. I'm trying to monetize this with galleries or collectors, but would appreciate your guidance and direction. Being a tour guide isn't exactly what I planned, and certainly not exponential, but this unexpectedly opened up, and I'm happy to be working with John and Chandresh. So John and Chandresh are building a HoloLens business, which is called Yugo World. And the whole idea of it is that you can put on the HoloLens, which is the augmented reality Microsoft goggles, and then you can kind of like take people on trips anywhere in the world. So we actually had it at our recent Brisbane event, which was awesome. And we had like, I think about 10 or 12 people that were coming through the lens, and we had different people who were the Yugo buddies that were kind of sharing them around at the time. So tech is what I want. So I think I'm on the right track. Am I doing what I should be as a mechanic? Any direction and guidance would be greatly appreciated. So Nisha, first of all, really awesome that you actually are doing the right thing, which is tapping into where the flow is. I mean, obviously John and Chandresh have flow, and they need a mechanic. I mean, they need people on the system side. You've got a passion, which is the art side. So the fact that you'd go down this path where you'd say, okay, well, why don't I actually get going first of all with what I love to do, which is actually using this and going into kind of like, art galleries in London, and actually having people around the world that can actually tune in and go on a trip with me, right? Like down to the National Gallery or whatever happens to be, right? If that's your passion, that's where you want to go, that's absolutely the right thing to do. Don't worry to begin with, for any of you, if you're doing something that you don't think is scalable, because the moment you go into something that starts to create flow, like the moment Nisha starts actually having people that say, hey, we're willing to actually pay to go on these trips, right? Can you take us to Paris? Can you take us to New York? Is the moment that you then start seeing where the opportunities are, which then allows you to create something scalable. I mean, there's no reason, Nisha, that you couldn't actually say to Chandresh and to John, hey, what if I was to actually, take the part which is the art part and create these, Yugo art buddies, right? Which would be different from the people doing the business part, going to conferences, or different to people doing the sports part, taking people off to, like the Olympics or the World Cup or something like that. Now each of these is actually able to generate really good money. So that's what I would do. I'd say, well, I'm going to start it, I'm going to test it, and then my vision is that I would actually create and grow like the people all around the world that could actually go to all of these different art openings, because that's really valuable, especially when you have things like auctions take place, that people actually want to be there and experience it and see around to who else is actually bidding for these different things. And there's no reason why you can't be the one that manages all of that, and then actually as a result of that, be generating money from all of the art side of things by growing it and being the one that's in charge of that, right? Just like with Google, right? The person who's now running YouTube happens to be the person who first of all gave Larry and Sergey a place to stay in her garage. And now she's basically running all of YouTube, right? It's like there's all these different divisions in any company that's growing that needs your support. That's what I would do if I was you. Let's come over to, I think that's a great idea, by the way. Ramos in Mexico. He has his photography company here. Hi, Roger. I partner with a small ad agency that are developing my new fashion e-shop website. So we talked with Ramos about the fact that he was only selling his time and expertise because he was waiting for big companies to pay him to go do a photo shoot. And now what he's doing is actually going for the cash, which is actually saying, well, I'll just set my own shop up. I can just do the photo shoots, have the awesome models, have the clothing lines, set up my Instagram store, and then sell the products myself, right? And then of course, no one's going to say no to you because you've now got basically the value you're delivering and the cash you're now generating for those people as well. Best idea we've found to manage product stock and delivery is to redirect the customer through our website to the brand's website. So each brand makes the sale and product delivery, and we get a commission fee for each product they sell. I wouldn't do that, by the way. I wouldn't be just sending them off to the websites. I would actually be setting up your own store. Set it up on Shopify, right? Or set it up on one of the fashion stores, but basically where you actually then can control it yourself. But the reason that's so important is because if they see the revenues all coming through as a result of you doing what you're doing, I mean, if you can be an affiliate of theirs and you think that's easier because of all the shipping to begin with, maybe. But the key thing here is you owning the customer. If you have someone come to you and then they go off and then buy from their store, it's their customer, not your customer, right? So like really important, like try and hold on to that yourself. You could even set up as an Amazon store, and then you're actually going to get out to all the other people on Amazon with the things that you're doing, and you just have the thing that you do better than anyone else is your photography. That actually becomes part of the process of what you're doing. Okay, the value of this item doesn't cover the photo production. Okay, so hang on a second. For the website content, I'm using some of the past photos I did in exchange for products, which is great. The value of this item doesn't cover the photo production, but I did have samples to build my e-shop, which is exactly the right thing. So my question, should I keep looking to find an attractive offer for brands to pay for the photo production? Or should I just focus at the moment on getting my new quality brands for the e-shop, even if I use their existing photos? Any ideas of how to make money and get brands on board at the same time? Thanks. Okay, Ramis, this is about you tuning in to your product pathway. Like the answer to your question is you do both. You say, first of all, I'm going to just do stuff for free. I'm not going to wait for permission. I'm just going to go do it, where I'm going to actually choose which are the very best products that I want to actually feature. I'm going to get really cool photos of those. I'm going to put them on the site. I'm going to have people coming my way on that. I'm going to go contact all of those different stores and tell them, or the different companies, and tell them, hey, I'm actually selling some of your stuff already. Do you want some more of these really cool photos? And if they go, nope, we're not interested, fine, you just keep selling their stuff. If they go, yes, we are, then you charge them a package to actually do more for them to make it even more effective on your store. As you start creating traction, you'll see companies going, wow, if I actually pay Ramis some money, and that means I get better photos. If I pay him some money and I get better positioning, well then I'm going to pay him because I know I'm going to actually make more sales off the back of that as well, right? So you want to do both as you go, and then as a result of that, you're not waiting to make money because you're making it anyway, but you still basically have those additional things you can then sell for the ones that actually get excited and want to do more with you as well, right? Okay, let's come over. Next, we are going to come to Woon Tan with Clean Web TV and podcast publishing. Hi, Roger. After Wealth Dynamics Masters in 2014, I left my insurance career and did events, podcasts, community management work. I just left my job as a community manager of sustainable workplaces 2 months ago. They were co-working space specializing in clean tech, circular economy, and sustainability in London. In the last 3 years, I ran over 60 sustainability startup events in London. So this is really great because Woon Tan was like knowing, like, I want to do something in that kind of green area. And it's like, well, then tune in to go with others. The fact you quit the job, well, it means that you're not getting cash flow from that anymore. But let's continue with this. In the last 3 years, okay, so we did all the events. I want to work with more higher paying clients doing podcast publishing, i.e. setting up or running podcasts to help them tell their stories in audio format. I want to focus more on the sustainability environmental stories. Currently, one of the clients is not sustainability focused. I've stopped my own podcast for over a year, but also think I should be getting on creating more episodes. So the long-term goal is to run a sustainability-focused podcast media network with multiple shows. By the way, that doesn't have to be a long-term goal. You can make that your goal now, right? You can actually say, right, that's going to happen right away, right? I'll just start with the very first one. I'm also signed up for iLab in October, which is awesome. I'm star profile. I need to move out of red. Question, what should I focus at? You just said it. You focus at actually getting those podcasts. I mean, the fact that you stopped the podcast, and the fact that you quit the job, look, it's really important for everyone listening to know sometimes you do the right things, but then you get distracted, and what was working or what was the right thing, you quit it, right? Like consistency is everything. My YouTube video, like my channel, I've been doing like 5 years, and if I quit it, then all that good work goes to waste, right? Like when you start, like at the end of the day, people want to trust people. People want to trust you, Woon Tan. If they were if they're listening to your podcast, if they're watching your Clear Web TV, and then you quit doing it, they don't trust you anymore because they're like, well, should I really be following Woon Tan because he might just quit tomorrow because he decides to go off do something else. So people trust consistency. When you say, I'm going to keep on showing up, and people go, oh, he's actually continuing to show up, then they're going to actually then go tell their friends, they're going to refer other people. Whereas if you're not showing up, they won't go refer other people, right? So super important that like trust comes down to basically setting a promise and then keeping to it. And a promise includes consistency and frequency in the way that you show up for other people as well. So the first thing I would do is go back to the things that you were doing that was working. Go back and do the podcast. Get into something that's actually going to create some ongoing flow for you as well. You could link the two together. I mean, you've now built credibility in actually running events. So basically bring the two together and say, hey, I can actually help you on your marketing for your green tech companies or your clean tech companies by helping you with your podcast, helping you with your online TV, helping you with your actually face-to-face events, and put a package together which allows you to get the right people working with you already. Start with your top 10 people that already know you and trust you and say, if I was to help you on your marketing, seeing what you know I can do, what would be the areas that you actually are needing most help with, right? And then get guided by them to follow the flow, right? That's what it means to follow the flow. Follow where you're solving people's problems instead of creating a product that no one wants and then trying to sell that product, right? But you're on the right track, and so just get back into momentum and continue on this pathway, right? Because you're already doing a lot of the right things. I'm going to come over to Brett Sadler next, ukleadershipacademy.com. I'm creating a podcast series. Here we go, podcast series. Beyond Leadership. You should connect with Wundan to launch the autumn. And for my first two guests, I've lined up Matthew Taylor, CEO of the RSA and author of the Government's Review into the Future of Work, and Tim Parker, chairman of the Post Office, Samsonite, and the National Trust. He's a busy man. How can I leverage this to actually create some income? I've got myself out of infrared by doing non-related work, which is great. So congratulations on that. I need to start earning from my passion. Yes, I've tried reaching out to collaborate with others, but they seem to perceive me as being too high level. I feel like I'm in a bit of a catch-22. You're only too high level to people who are low level. So you're just reaching out to low level people and they're telling you you're high level. So reach out to high level people, right? Which means actually going out and targeting people at a high level, which you can find on LinkedIn. You know, you can actually go out there, use something like Duck Soup, that's DUX Soup, SOUP, which is one of the best apps to actually get you targeted to the people who are your target audience, and be letting them know that you've actually got these podcasts that you'd like to actually share with them as well. Convert the podcast in such a way that you've got basically a summary blog, right, which links to the podcast, which says here's the top 5 things to share. So people go, oh, that was interesting. I want to share that with other people, right? So that becomes your gold dust. Then you got the podcast itself, which is free because no one wants to pay for a podcast. And so basically that podcast people then listen to as well. And then above that, create yourself kind of like a work group or a mastermind or kind of like a kind of a think tank group, which are the high level people. Invite each of them saying, look, as well as this podcast, I actually have got my high level group of people, who are paying me like, £1,000 a month to actually have a chance to actually ask you some questions in a Q&A. Would you be interested in actually coming and getting connected to that? This is what Peter Diamandis does. He actually has his Abundance 360 group. People pay like $12,000 a year to be a part of that. He gets them to give him the questions, right? So he goes, I'm going to go, meet up with like Elon Musk. So what question would you want to ask him? And then he gets their questions. He then asks those questions. The ones who actually pay the higher level money want to be able to get their questions asked and then be on a kind of a live like call, which no one else gets. Then the podcast itself then goes out for free to everyone else. Starting with something which is high magnify means you only need, 10 people on that, and you can be making £10,000 a month. You could even start by saying, well, the first 10 people in this group, I'm going to do it at a kind of like half price because it's at the beginning and I'm much more interested in your testimonials than basically at this point, you're paying for it. And then you're getting the right people on board who then are paying you money because you're giving them something at a high premium. Just like what I was saying to Ramis, it's all about basically people trusting you, first of all, because they're investing time with you at a point where they're willing to invest a little bit of money, and then there's always going to be some people there that see so much value they're going to invest more money, right? So that's the way to be able to monetize. The other thing that you can do as well is, Brett, when you're speaking to these people who themselves have got their own needs. I'm like Tim Parker, what's his need? He's like, chairman of the Post Office, Samsonite, National Trust. There's probably something that he's really passionate about that he's looking for some support in. You find out what that is and say, hey, is there some way I can help you in some of that? I'm doing, I'm building a community. I've got connections with other people that are doing everything from photography to, videos to podcasts. He might say, yeah, I'm looking for someone that can help me to actually build that side. Because lots of people on the corporate side know they're going to build their own brand. They don't know how to. You could be offering, help to people like that as well. So choose who your customer is, and it sounds to me like it's a high level person. So start from that level and then being able to actually get those people to be paying you more for something much more exclusive where you're inviting them into it. That's definitely the way to go. Okay, let's come over here to Gree Steen. who says, "Hi Roger, thanks for an awesome event in Perth. So looking forward to Exponential Entrepreneur and iLab in Bali over the next couple of months. So see you in Bali. My challenge at the moment is that I have recently stepped out of operations in my own digital health startup to embark on the next stage of my life where I live to my purpose. I think I am finally ready and committed to owning my future, but I'm a bit stuck because I depleted most of my personal finances in my startup. I have taken on a contract with a single client. Well, that's good. At least you're actually doing the orange level thing of having like level 1 business with one client. So that's good. Whilst this helps my bank account, my day-to-day activities directly contradict my genius or my star and drains me of energy to work on my social enterprise startup. So I'm looking for resources and mentors to help me get unstuck and find a way to survive financially while working on things I love. Would love your view on how to approach this. So same thing I was saying to Wintown, I'll say to you, Guri, and everyone else is in this situation as well. What almost always happens when someone goes, oh no, I've run out of money. It's like, well, I better go get a job, do something I don't actually want to do, or go find someone that actually trusts you to want to give you some money, which is exactly what Gree's done here. And then you then are making the money. It's like, good, now I'm making money. And then it's like, but I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. Okay, I'll just quit it and I'll just go back to making no money and then trying to do something I enjoy. It's like, it's not all either or, right? So I talk about Superman time and Clark Kent time. And the way to create the bridge from one to the other, first of all, is to say, what's the minimum amount of Clark Kent time you need to put in to do what you need to do to cover your own cash flow. So agree, you might say, I'll give you an example. Let's say, imagine that you say, hey, I'm earning $5,000 a month, and I need $4,000 to survive, okay? So you go, right, okay, but it's taking all my time, right? If basically it's like 5 days a week and I have no extra time for my own business. It's like, wait, well, what I need to do with my Clark Kent time is to say, I only need 4,000, not 5,000. So I'll use 80% of my time. I'll go back to my client and I'll say, hey, I'm giving you 5 days a week at the moment at 5,000 for the month. I'm going to cut that down to 4 days a week for 4,000, right? He might actually be happy 4 days a week and still pay you the full amount if you give him good value. But the bottom line is you're actually looking for a way to actually just make enough to be able to go out of red level. Then you then buy yourself time. Because if you actually say, hey, look, I can do it in 4 days a week and I can still make enough money, you're not trying to make more and more and more out of your Clark Kent time, you're making just enough to buy your time, then you could say, well, then that gives me an extra day of time I didn't have before where I'm not going into infrared, and then I can actually spend my time on that day of time going from one customer to 2, 3, 4, 5 customers, right? If you can do it in 3 days, even better, because then you've got 2 days that are going to be your Superman time, which you can now actually use to be able to go out there and do what you really love to do. So that's the first thing, is like get the balance right and know exactly how much Clark Kent time is required before you've got your business started, where you're actually making enough cash flow to keep yourself high and dry, right? If you go infrared, you're kind of drowning in the ocean. You can't build a ship from drowning in the ocean. Get back onto the beach, but just be at the right place to then start spending the rest of your time building your ship, right? Which is what you're wanting to do right now. Second thing is then, okay, well, then how do I approach the next thing I want to do? Well, you'll find it, Exponential Entrepreneur, coming to iLab, you'll find the people out there where you're saying, who's already in flow, doing the things that I want to do, such that I can then be helping them to do even more of what they want to do and to get into more flow, which then is going to allow me to be able to make money by helping them make money, right? So the question right now is like, how do I help other people make money? Because to begin with, they've got a credibility and momentum in a way that a new startup doesn't, and you want to basically drive off that flow as well. So that's what you need to do. Say not just what should I be doing, but who are the people who are going to be willing to pay me money based on me actually using my skill sets to support them, and where they're also already aligned to your value. This is why so many startups fail. They don't do any of that stuff. They just go out there, create a product, and then they wonder why they run out of money. Okay, let's come over to Yvette here. YvetteMartin.com. As a supporter, I found 2 people or companies that I can see myself partnering with to help expand their services and provide great impact for their clients. One is now offering to white label me to their clientele and put me in front of their clients as a value-added service to their business, which is great, right? So this is about basically not you using your own brand, but white labeling basically means that they want to kind of use your tools within their brand or within a new brand and actually just use that, right? The other wants me to come to do a team session for them in exchange for some value that they can provide me. However, the monetary investment, if we were both just purchasing each other's services, is thousands of dollars apart. My question is twofold. As a supporter, I'm sure you're not surprised. Should I be white labeling myself under someone else's brand? It could be a good source of revenue, as they have a database of 15,000 of my ideal clients, but it isn't building my own brand. Also, how far do you recommend discounting my services to give someone else an experience of what I do in the hope that they will then promote me to their clientele? I am aware that I get distracted by other people wanting to work with me, and I spent a lot in the past few years helping to like grow for others. So I guess both of these questions come down to how do I know if I'm valuing myself and creating profitable partnerships as opposed to just a distraction. So here's the thing, Event, is the reason that what I just shared is so relevant to you is this is about which level you're at. Like if you're already at a level 3, level 4 business, you don't need to white label. People come up and say, hey, can we use Genius U and white label it so it's not under Genius U? We just do it all separate. And we go, no, because the whole point of what we're doing, just like Facebook or just like Amazon, is not to give all the tools like outside of Facebook or Amazon. We're a platform, and we can say that because we're already at that level where we can say no to it. When you're at a point where it's like, I just want to make some more cash come in, you could be saying, hey, you know what? This is a really good way for me to actually be able to create cash flow, provided you know that you're going to create cash flow out of it, and it's worth it in terms of Clark Kent time. Even if I don't build my own brand off the back of it, I'm getting good data as to what's working, what's not, by white labeling it to begin with. So a company like Indiegogo did that at the very beginning. They said, well, we want everything on Indiegogo, but at the beginning we just want to create some cash. So let's actually white label this a little bit for different people to use the Indiegogo tools. And that brought them cash flow in, which allowed them then to grow. So you got to say, what's the purpose of me doing this? If it's to generate cash flow, then I don't care so much that I'm not building my brand from this. That cash flow then makes me win, because then I've got enough money to then grow my own time and also to bring other people on board. That helps me to build my brand a lot more, right? Similarly, on the second one, giving your time away for free, if you're giving away time very free with the hope that business is going to come in, that's not great. But if you say, look, my objective is that I'm giving away this time for free so that I can find 5 new clients, and those 5 new clients will then get me $25,000, and you're really clear and that's what you're trying to do, then you go speak to your partner on that and say, look, I'm willing to give the time for free on the basis that we'll know it works if I can get 5 clients and get to this result. Do you think that's reasonable? If they go, no, you shouldn't expect anything from any of our clients, it's like, well, then we shouldn't work together. If they go, no, that's pretty reasonable, I think that could actually help, and I'll help you monitor it to see if you get that result. Because if you do, we should do more of this stuff together. Then great, then you're both going to win out of it, right? But be really clear on what that intention is with yourself as well as the people you're going to work with. Then you can make a decision whether it's the right thing to do or not, because it's all part of a promotion, as opposed to basically just something where it's just kind of like, spray and pray, which is not the way to build a business, right? Okay, so always start with the end in mind and make that end really clear to whoever you're working with. Here's Alison Rental, aquamarine.home.com. Sales are still very slow. I know I've made the classic creative mistake of starting a business with products but no customers, ! I'm doing everything I possibly can to network, collaborate, promote, market, etc., both in person and online, both B2C and B2B, to try and find my customers, but still very little sales. I have a couple of pop-up shops coming up, so may get some sales in there, while also raising awareness locally for Aquamarine. I'm also trying to find people in my industry who I might be able to work for in order to learn. As per my success post, I also have this friend in France who wants to buy a whole lot of stock to sell there, so that could be a really nice development. And basically all direction about where to focus my energy right now would be much appreciated. So Alison, you're doing too much stuff. For some of you, it's the same thing. You're doing too much stuff. Ask yourself, how many of the things I'm doing are actually related to promotion? Like we've actually written down the promotion to say this month and this quarter I'm going to be making X amount of money with X amount of new customers, with X amount of products, or with X amount of objectives in place, right? Because it sounds to me like you've got a whole bunch, you're just trying to do everything. But if you actually started that and saying, right, all I'm looking to do is to generate this much money with this many new products, this many clients, you might find that partnership in France already does the deal, right? So I looked at your success, and basically this is someone in France who actually wants to start up Aquamarine France. That sounds perfect. So why not just say, well, if I did that, would that achieve the revenues I want to achieve? Yes, it will. Okay, great. Then I'm done. I'll just do that. And then I can spend the rest of the quarter not trying to expand, but just enhance what I'm doing, right? So really, really super important that you're really clear that 90% of what you're doing is irrelevant, because it's busy stuff, but none of us actually making sure that you're actually achieving the milestones that you're setting for yourself, right? So cut everything out that's not part of milestone. If you don't have your promotion plan, go back and put your promotion plan together, right? And you know how to do that. So that's what I'd say for you, Alison. Sounds like you're just too busy doing too many things. And again, just get really focused. What's the minimum number of people I need to achieve the results that I've said I'm going to achieve, right? And then just go and actually get directed to that minimum number of people, which could be one that allows you to actually move forward, right? Okay, we've got Rosalind here, Rosalind Camuglia, who says, hi Roger, thank you in advance. I need to find focus and direction as I have too many things going on and I'm trying to tie them into one thing, but don't know how. I very much want to promote health, wellness, and beauty, help people find their true beauty from within. I have had my own life journey from finding that beauty and want to help others. What I'm involved in currently is working on my own business, doing hair, makeup, beauty, but I want to move away from this as I've been doing for 40 years and I've lost my passion. Part of 2 direct sales companies that encompass health and wellness, looking into developing my own range of hair products, and I'm living my passion when I am doing events and sharing all that I have with people. But I'm not good at growing my network to create a bigger audience. I'm just trying to follow the flow, but too many things are coming to my path. I hope this is the right place to ask my question. Yes, it is, Rosalind. The first thing I'd ask you to do is go back, read what you've written, and see how many times you've used the word I. Right? I mean, even if I just take the first 3 lines, right? I need to find focus. I have many things going on. I am trying to tie them together. I very much want to promote. I have had my own life journey. It goes on and on and on. Your big challenge is that you're trying to do it all on your own. And your big challenge is that you're trying to figure it out on your own. And the answer is to get in a team. And that doesn't mean you getting your team together. That means you going out and getting connected to the right team. Now, if you decide that it's the direct sales side that you want to go down, right, then you got to say, well, what's my goal? I've seen a number of people that I've worked with in network marketing who have gone from 5,000 up to 50,000 a month just by basically getting really clear, is it what they wanted to do? And they go, yes, it's what I want to do. I was like, well, if you want to get to 50,000 a month, who do you know out there who's already getting 50,000 a month? It's like, well, I've got some people higher up in the rankings. Well, have you gone and sat down with them and asked them, how long did it take you to get to $50,000 a month? How long did it take you to get to $10,000 a month? What did you do different from everyone else to get there? Right? They obviously want you to be successful because your success is their success. But it's incredible how few people actually go and have that conversation to see their future. You want to see your future? Go to someone who's achieving your future and then ask them, how did they do it and how long it took? Some of them might say it took me 10 years. It's like, well, now you know that's how long it's going to take, right? Some of them might have said, well, the only way I got there is I actually went to a new brand in a new way, which allowed me to get there fast, right? I'm like, you'll find out so fast how to get there by hearing how other people got there and then taking the best from them to actually then apply for yourself as well, right? Where you're then saying, my goal is to get to that number, and I know if I get the number, it's going to help you get to your goal. What's your goal? They'll then help you because you're going to help them, right? It may not be that it's the direct sales side. You might say, look, I actually want to have my own range of hair products. So it's like, right, who out there actually has got to a point where they've actually earned, $10,000 or $20,000 with their own range of hair products? You'll find them by just going online and actually saying, well, which are the ones that I like, and get connected to those people. And same thing, saying, well, what did you do to actually get started? And as you actually just go out on that treasure hunt and you go looking for that, you'll find that every one of them is looking for people to join their team. So you could be their partner. You could be, helping them out to run events, which is what you love to do. But before you start trying to sell your product, get into something where you're helping someone else sell their products, where that product actually is exactly the kind of thing you'd like to be doing in the future, so you can be earning and learning at the same time. But most importantly, the moment you start seeing the we, and you'll all see it as we get to the yellow-green level, that all of the terminology changes. It's all about the we, it's all about the team, because they're all playing in the team as well. The World Cup is on right now, right? And can you imagine someone just showing up at the World Cup and saying, everyone come join my team, who's never played football before, hasn't earned the right to actually be at the World Cup? No one would be even listening to them. But to actually go and actually say, like, I'm at World Cup level, and then go play in one of the World Cup teams, or realize you're not at that level yet, but you can actually definitely go down to the local football club and actually say, where's there space in the team here, and already start playing the game, which then leads you up to the World Cup. I mean, you get the idea that it's about joining someone else's team and earning the right first to see how money really flows before you're trying to get everyone to join your team as well. I totally think that, Rosalind, that's going to be the way you get the context. Especially with your profile as well, really super duper important to get tuned in to what other people already are doing within your market, and then actually helping them out as well. All of these ones I've just gone through are the red to orange, right? So these are all the ones where the key thing is to join someone else's team, follow the flow. Then once you're in that flow, you can then start defining your own identity, which is now talking about orange to yellow, right? Identify your identity, master your market. This is where you're now in a position where you've got enough flow coming your way, or people connected to you who already are buying from you, that you can now start co-creating your product, right? Which is where these next questions come in. Okay, so let's go for it. Here we have, at the orange to yellow level, Neil Fellows. By the way, some of these questions I answered on both the Gem Call we had, and also on the Facebook Live that we ran this week as well. So Neil was one of the ones I actually answered on the Facebook Live, so some of you would have seen that. But I'm going to go through it again, right? Because there's distinctions here without you having to go all the way to go through that video that I'm going to repeat here as well. So Neil, Total Wellness Club seems to be in a bit of a deal flow right now, which is magical. In the last month, 3 people have come to me because they want to sell their business. We have agreed a deal to acquire one and now doing due diligence. We're also busy relaunching the Total Wellness Club brand, thinking of team. What type of person should I be looking for my deal team to work alongside me? I think someone who can pick up when the deal is done and implement or manage a plan. What profile would that typically be? And also, how would you run a test project with them? Examples would be fantastic. Yeah, well, I'll give you an example straight away, Masayoshi-san, right? In fact, I'll take one before Masayoshi-san because this is one which actually, as an entrepreneur, he actually did a really good job before whatever he's doing as a president, which is Donald Trump, right? So Donald Trump, if you remember George Ross, he was his right-hand man. Donald Trump, dealmaker profile, George Ross, accumulator profile. So remember the 1, 2, 3 strategy. Anyone who's out there doing deals, there's a really good book on Rupert Murdoch, same thing, like dealmaker, and then 2 along is the accumulator. And the accumulator is the one that actually makes sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, so that basically you've got all the right agreements in place and you've got the plan in place as well, right? Then you've got the creator who then executes. Like that's exactly what Donald Trump does, where he actually has the person that actually makes sure the deals are getting done properly. Then he's got whoever's going to do the developments that goes out and does it. Masayoshi-san, exactly the same thing, right? He's got a team that actually makes sure that once he's gone out and found the right deal, they put all the right deal in place. That's the accumulator side. Then basically the creator to actually then make sure the thing is driven forward, so you're not actually ending up having to do that yourself, right? That's what a team should look like, right? But well done on the fact that things are really moving forward there for you. It's really awesome. And anyone here who's in the health and wellness, which included some of those red to orange questions, connect with Neil, because his Total Wellness Club is basically like TripAdvisor for the wellness industry, which is awesome. And if any of you have seen the story recently, I'm going to be writing a story which probably would come out by the time I show you this video, which is about one of the founders of Calm. So if you haven't seen the Calm app, it basically just got valued at $250 million. And this is one of the founders of Calm, who is from the UK, where as a student, he was like sitting at home thinking, I don't want to be living with my parents anymore. How do I make $1 million? And he's like, I don't know how I'm going to make $1 million. And then I said, well, I'm going to just make it, I'm going to figure it out. It's like, how do I make $1 million? He wrote it down and he was sitting in his bedroom, figuring it out. And he came up with a way, which is that he's going to create a web page, which is called the $1 million web page. And basically he was going to just sell pixels on that page to anyone who wants to advertise on it. And within 4 months, he'd made $1 million. I mean, it's a pretty crazy story. And then from that, he's like, well, the fact that he could make that money doing that, he saw, well, there was a real issue online where people were just using the internet too much. So he goes, well, what if I was to actually have a way that I could actually have 10 minutes doing nothing.com, right? Or I could actually have a little counter and people would actually go on there and then click it and then have to wait maybe it's 2 minutes doing nothing, and they wait 2 minutes, and then if they finished it, they kind of won. But if they didn't, it would start again, right? And he goes, well, I can't make money out of this thing. And he says, well, maybe I'll create an app for it. And then it's like, well, actually, this is really meditation, right? So maybe I'll create a meditation app. And then that became Calm, and now Calm's worth $250 million. So it's like, what are you doing to just really make sure that you're following your passion, but then you're doing it in a way that actually delivers value. But the fact that now there's wellness products online, wellness, platforms and apps which are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, we're seeing this now happening, right? So for Neil to be doing this is really awesome, and definitely recommend any of you who are in the wellness industry connect up with Neil so you can see how he's doing it. As you can see, he's getting into the deal flow right now. Let's come over to Stephanie Allen. All right, since iLab, I've engaged Hannah Power to help me create a social media content strategy. So some of you know Thomas and Penny Power, who set up Academy and are part of our community as well. Hannah is their daughter, who now lives in Bali and is also helping us with our online strategies as well. So since iLab, I've engaged Hannah Power to help create a social media content strategy to launch my new coaching business and build my brand awareness through Facebook and Instagram as part of my first promotion plan, which is great. My plan is to build up to me making an offer in about mid-July or for about 10 women to work with me privately during a 3-month period. And if it's oversubscribed, I'll funnel the extra women into a group program. I want to share this opportunity in a way that gives me the best chance of signing up these clients. Okay, fair enough. At this early stage of my business, what's the best way to do that? Should I let them get to know me through my Facebook webinar on which I have that offer? Should the first step be a free discovery call, or is it better to charge a small fee for a low profile test and debrief at the end of which I make the sale? Should I say that I'm only going to work with 10 women privately over the next 3 months, or say that a few spaces to take on private clients have opened up for women to apply for? So Stephanie's going through that whole pathway of how do you build trust, right? So The most important thing whenever you're doing a launch of something new is your pre-launch. Your pre-launch is when you get the first few people coming on board. Like if you're going to have 10 spaces, your first 3 people, who probably are people you already know. So it's not even a website or anything. It's actually contacting them and saying, look, I'm actually going to do this program. This is why I'm doing it. This is the reason that I'm actually committed to doing it. This is why I'd love you to be a part of it as well. And that's why I'm inviting you to be one of the first to come and join, right? Would you be up for coming and being a part of this, first of all, right? And do you see the value in doing something like this? You're going to get great feedback from them straight away from that. If they go yes, right, and then you say, well, look, let me tell you what I'm looking to charge people, and you tell me if you think it's good value for money or not to come and do it as well. And if you really wanted to, you can actually have them coming on board free of charge if you really wanted to be on. But most of them would actually be willing to pay you something if they see the value in it and they want to support you in creating something new as well. Then you actually get enough good feedback and you get some first people on board, which then allows you to actually now show what you're doing online to bring people on board as well, right? So the first thing is do the pre-launch. The second thing is that you definitely want to do something which is building content and giving content in such a way that people actually already are seeing the value in it. So that can be, and that's something simple and free, right? It can be just a download of a guide. It can be a series of videos. It can be a test of some sort, but it's free, right? So then you can actually start tracking and saying how many people are moving from followers. So you definitely have your Facebook group. You definitely have your page where you're actually sharing information and engaging people and getting out to at least 100 people that are actually interested in connecting with you because they find what you're saying is of value, right? So you have that happening. You then basically offering them this free download, and maybe out of 100 people, you might get like 10 or 20 who then download it, maybe higher, right? And then from those people downloading it, you now know who's actually interested enough that you can then offer them a consultation. You don't need to charge it in the early days because at the beginning, you're just looking for those 10 people. And that consultation is really just sharing at a deeper level what you went through. And then by you guiding them and taking that time to actually work with them, there'll be a number of those who'll go, this is really worthwhile. I want to take things further. What can we do together? And that's when you can actually then offer the ability to come on board and be part of your program. That's the pathway, right? You always want to go from follower to community member, which is someone that was paying you attention and now they're paying you time, then to basically having that call with you where they're saying I'm a prospect, which means that they're paying you for decision, and some of them decide yes, they're the ones who will pay you for money, right? And go down that line. Even to begin with, to get started in your first one, be okay if you say, look, come and join it. Do the first couple of sessions like for free. I mean, like if you want to cancel after the first two sessions, you can do that. If you want to decide to pay after the first 1 or 2 sessions, you can do that. Why is this important? Because you need to prove to people when you're getting started that you can deliver the value, so they trust you. Because at the beginning they don't know, right? Obviously, when they've heard from friends who've done it and love it, once you've got success stories and testimonials, well, then people can see that it's going to work. But at the beginning, they don't know because you don't know, right? You haven't done it before. So basically make it as simple and easy and no-brainer as possible for people to say yes, so that you can really make sure that it works for you. And then as you're then getting that success going, it becomes easier to fill the next one after this as well, right? So that's what I would say is the best way to do it. All right, Gabriel arrived from Mexico. According to the impact meter, how do you determine the impact of a company is a month-to-month basis or an annual based client? So this is another one of the questions that I shared on the Facebook Live. I'm starting coaching and mentoring some clients with this approach, but I'm getting confused about the levels. For example, last year I served over 600 clients at offline events and one-to-one clients. But I have a client who sells furniture for retail stores. He only has 11 clients, but his client represents about 100 shops. So my interest is to know when am I ready to do online marketing and to have more knowledge and to mentor my clients, right? So first of all, if Gabriel has 600 clients, it doesn't mean that he is a level 3 business with over 100 clients, right? Because it's not about are they buying every month from you or are they buying once? It's are they buying at least once a year? So if he goes back to the 600 and goes, wow, look at that, they came once and only like 50 came back again, you're still a level 2 business, right? Because just buying once doesn't mean anything. It's the fact that they're buying a second time. And even if it's just once a year, that's okay. It means that they're still going to build lifetime value with you as opposed to just going once. So whatever you're doing, you're always going to be focusing, the moment you've got a client, is what's the second thing they're going to buy? Because that's what builds a relationship. And if you don't do that, you can't build a business. Because you might be successful bringing in 500 people once, but then guess what? They've all gone, you've got to start all over again. Whereas if you know, okay, I know a way that I can have 100 just ongoing buying from me, well, then you can then obviously continue. Obviously, it makes a whole lot more sense if you can get them by every month, which is why subscription programs work really well. But even if it's just once a year that they're buying something from you, it means that they're going to be willing to refer you on to other people. It means that they love what you do, and they see themselves building a relationship with you, and you can go back and get more input from them because they see they've got a long-term future with you, and vice versa as well, right? So that's what I would say first of all in terms of yourself. For your client, like if they don't collect any of the data of any of the people that they actually go on the retail side, they only actually have got those 10 or 11 clients, then it means they're still only a level 2 company. If they're actually collecting data on all of those other clients, like Amazon will ensure they're collecting data on every single one of the clients. Apple will make sure that no matter who's coming on the App Store, they're collecting data from every one of them and getting to register for the App Store as well as for those products. Why? Because that's where the value is in actually having that personal relationship. Amazon Prime came about as a result of Amazon going to all the people that came in to buy someone else's product on the Amazon store, and because they're also an Amazon customer as well as a store customer, Amazon can go back to them and saying, hey, why don't you actually buy more stuff from Amazon, right? And so they basically got all those clients for free because they all came via these stores, and now they're their client. They can now actually buy more stuff from them as well. So you can actually go back to your client and say, listen, you're not collecting anything from any of the guys that are on the retail side. You're just selling to the furniture, your furniture to those retail stores. Why don't we do something where everyone can come and join your membership program, right? So when they buy your furniture, they're actually then getting, a discount, or they're getting points or rewards for actually doing more with you, right? Or being able to actually get, specials from your website, or to win a prize or something. And so then as a result of that, they will then basically, give you their details as well. You can transform that business from a level 2 business to a level 4 business overnight, which is, by the way, what all of the smart retailers are doing, right? They're all going down this route where they realize the days are gone when you basically can get away with not having that personal relationship with the client, right? Everyone needs to do that nowadays. So I hope that explains that in more detail, and I know that got a lot of positive responses from the Facebook Live as well. Once people really started understanding the power that a company has to transform what it's doing into much more of an information model. So basically the industrial age model is one which is about productizing, which is not so much about the customer. The information age model is the one which is about customizing, which is about the customer, not the product, right? So it's about kind of putting the whole thing on its head. And it's why everything from health, which was always about the drugs and not about the patients, right? Or education, which was always about the classes and not about the kids, right? Is all going on its head, because it's now not about how do you productize the products, which are like the education classes. It's about how do you customize for every child, right? So that's a customized thing. So the whole thing is shifted in all industries, including the retail industry. Okay, so Patrick and Relihan with bypass.net.nz, they are creating really super awesome apps and platforms that are then keeping the internet safe for kids, and they are working with some of the large service providers to actually roll this out to everyone. There are a number of high priority pieces of work to complete as part of launching the new brand with a new monetization strategy, i.e. giving away the platform and monetizing the support, which is one of the big aha moments they got when they came to the New Zealand event. Many of these are currently underway, such as getting the new brand logo website established, setting up a community, setting up a social media presence, working out new pricing, lots of stuff going on here, getting adequate support documentation in place, and blah, 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 all those different things, right? We're keen to launch the new brand and strategy as soon as possible, but need advice on which of these elements absolutely need to be completed before we launch. Our concern is that launching prematurely may raise questions and criticisms of our readiness to offer a solution under the new model, and will take up more resources support than if we spent extra time before launching. And we actually had a conversation on the Crystal Circle call already about this, where I advise you have to already map out your product roadmap, and you have to already let people come on board to be part of your first of all your kind of beta testers, right? It's okay, we're only going to work with 3 companies at our beta level, and then we're going to then roll out to basically our first group, our first user group. That'll be in 3 months or 6 months from now, and people already can start queuing up for that and then come on board there as well. People are okay, in fact they prefer to be involved in an early stage where they can then co-create the product with you to get what they want, then wait, and then kind of you eventually come up with a product which is not what they wanted because you never consulted in the first place. So people are actually willing to do that and come on board earlier. So always basically have the pre-launch before the launch, which is what I was saying earlier. And there's always situations like Apple does this, right? They'll always basically go out to their most preferred customers and actually pre-sell before they sell. Same thing happens with property developments, right? People will actually go out to the developers will go out to the top clients and saying, well, before we go out to the market, we're coming to you first. And sometimes they'll sell out the entire project before they've even gone to the market, right? So always be thinking in that way. No, this isn't back-end sales, it's front-end sales, right? How do you actually get people to be buying even before the product comes out? And then they help you to co-create the product as well. Okay, so let's come over next to Jacqueline Pigden. Hi, Roger. Thanks for the awesome Crystal Circle call, which we had recently, where you recommended creating a monthly payment plan for VIP sewing students who continue to come every term for several years. So this is Jacqueline's mother's company, which is a sewing company in Australia, which is doing really well, and she's up for the Telstra Awards, which is awesome. Currently, they pay approximately $1,500 per year and pay quarterly, i.e. upfront before the term starts, term by term. There are approximately 80 general sewing students, and 95% of those students re-enroll, so we only ever have about 6 vacancies to fill from the waiting list, and they fill up within 48 hours every quarter. We would need to make the change attractive to the students, but also not discount too much to lose on revenue when they are already paying upfront per term 4 times a year. What do you suggest in terms of transitioning to a monthly or VIP type membership arrangement? Also, could you outline all the reasons as to why this change would be very good for the business? I know you said we don't have to resell them 4 times per year, instead only 1. Also, like the school system, to have levels for them to want to graduate to and celebrate how many years they've been at the school. Thank you. Yeah, Jacqueline, this is exactly the point, right? If you've got such good enrollment numbers, people coming back again and again, you don't need to actually discount to do this. In fact, think about a school, like the best schools, they don't discount, but what they do say is they say we're full, right? So you need to basically like book in ahead of time, but they still book people in by the year, right? It's like, you know, when I went to Cambridge, like when my kids went to university and also to school, I knew I had to get their application in. That if they managed to get in, that was an awesome thing, because lots of people didn't manage to get in, and then basically they'd be in for the whole year, and they'd just bill me all the way through the year, like at every term, right? So by doing that, it just saves you so much hassle of having to go back looking for people, and more importantly, it allows you to grow. Because as long as you're basically there where you're saying, well, we're only as good as the next quarter, you can't actually put that predictable like a pathway together. Whereas you say, we already have got locked in for the next year, this many people, you can then say, great, well then let's look at how we then grow the school to the next, you know, country, or grow the school to the next, you know, division of things that we're going to actually be teaching. And then again, just like be saying to people, hey, we've got this new thing that's going to be joining, that's starting up. We're going to bring some new trainers on board. Like if you want to be in for this one for the year and add this, you know, as an extra certification, then apply now, and then you're guaranteed the moment you've got like another 50 students coming in that you're actually going to have enough to pay that person to then do the training. Whereas if it's only quarter by quarter, you don't have that same comfort, right? So 100%, you know, the fewer times you need to go to people to ask them to buy, the better every time, right? And at the same time, I imagine doing a monthly subscription where you have to go back every month to check if they wanted to do it again, right? But if you actually have them where they're already saying, yep, I'm in, right? Then it's a whole different level of commitment in terms of what they do. Plus, and you've said it yourself, right? It's like, then they'll think of it at school where we say, if you want to be like a super pro, if you want to be one of our trainers, go through 5 years, right? And people go, right, that's it, I'm going for the 5-year program. And they'll actually go through what's required to actually then be able to see themselves through. So that's what I would say. It's like, you know, you don't need to be giving, if you think you're just going to fill up anyway, you don't need to give discounts. You might actually give some extra lessons or something for those who actually book up the whole thing, or a special newsletter that only the people that are actually your, you know, year-long students, right, who are actually getting certified are going to get. If someone comes in and just does one course, they might get credits towards, you know, one like level of expertise you're going to develop. But most people will then think, well, I'm not going to just come in for 1 quarter. I'm going to come in for the whole year. Gym memberships, they work the same way, right? So just do it from that point of view. And I think it's really, really cool you're thinking that way, and design out that pathway, which then allows you to have train-the-trainer programs as well, so people can then actually get up to that level too. This allows you to have something much more scalable, can now grow all around the world, and also sets you apart from all of those other, you know, online programs where they're just doing like one class at a time as well, right? So more people will want to come to you because they're going to get recognized at a different level by doing that. Okay, next we're going to come to Peter Solway. We have a really good, so his walkthroughsoftware.com is basically software which allows you to be able to make your business more effective. We have really good demos of our software to enterprise customers. However, after we leave the meeting, we have a high drop-off rate to conversion relevant to the enthusiasm in the meeting. What's the best way to keep the excitement and follow through on interest to conversion post-demo when the individual gets back into the business of corporate life? Well, the answer to that is don't leave them hanging, right? You have to have a way, and even with corporate sales, you can do this where there's a pathway where you're mapping out what that pathway looks like, and there's a consequence to missing out, right? I mean, always what will happen if people aren't really aware of what is the timeline that you're asking for and that they're agreeing to when they're in the meeting with you, you're always going to lose them because they're always just going to get busy with day to day. So you've got a number of options, right? Option number one, when you're with them, is basically to lay out whatever you think is the right timeline. If you don't think they're willing to actually make a commitment or can't make a commitment on the spot, because some of them can, by the way, then you need to actually say, here's the date when we're going to actually then contact you to get everything signed up and organized, right? And set another date, right? If they have to go and check with their accounts team or they're going to go check with their board or whatever it is to make this work, say, well, what we do is we do a session where we actually already are going to show you, like, and your key team members, exactly like with the 30-minute training session, how this is going to work in all the different elements. We also do the full sign up at that point as well. If we set that for the next week, would that work, right, for you? Would that give you enough time to basically make it work for you? And if you get to the next week and you're saying, well, we really can't do it, you can cancel that meeting if you want to, but that's how we basically get ourselves set up. Secondly, have a limit to how many people you're going to be working for every month to say, well, look, we've already got like 20 people that want to work with us. We're going to work with 5. Do you think you'd be one of the ones for this month, or should we be putting it for next month or month after? So you're already gauging just how committed they actually are to coming on board, and they know there's a consequence for missing out. People don't buy from you because they like your product, because lots of people like people's products and doesn't mean they buy. They buy from you because there's a consequence of missing out, right? It's the fact that there's a limited number or that the event only happens once, and they go, well, I better buy now because if I don't, I'm going to miss out on it, right? So create that consequence, right? And you'll be amazed at just how many more people will then say, right, I'm gonna basically move differently as a result of that. I mean, how many of you guys have ever run for a plane, right? You paid for the ticket and you still have to go run for the plane. And it's because there's a consequence of not getting to the actual plane in time, which is you missed the plane, right? And then there's all this inconvenience that happens when you miss the plane. So by knowing that basically there's like all the companies that actually have designed into it some consequence. People queue up for Apple products because they know that if they don't queue up, they're not going to get it for another month, right? So be really aware that the more you can set up queues and the more you can actually limit the number of people coming in and working with you, the more demand is going to come your way anyway. And you haven't set that up this way, so there's no urgency, which is why they kind of like just say, well, I'll come back to you later. And it's not critical in the same way when they're with you, they're excited by it. So set out the plan all the way through to when the decision gets made, when they make the commitment, and then actually just follow through on that as well, but schedule it out so they're all part of that too. And if they can actually make a purchase right then and there, then that's even better, right? Okay, let's come down next to Meg. We have Meg Howe here. This is great. Perfectmatchpuppy.com and dogbreedinginformation.com. Hi, I've got a successful red, yellow level business providing ethically reared puppies to 100 owners a year in partnership with 6 other breeders I've casually mentored over the years. I'd like to expand this to other breeds and breeders around the world online. However, the idea lacks positive validation. There is so much negativity around breeders now that it's hard to reach new people. The market has shrunk 50% in the last 5 years, and I find my established breeders fragmented into factions and largely resistant to my message. Should I persevere while trying to expand, or is it time to pivot to a new idea? I'm also interested in health, particularly healing my family and others, a variety of issues stemming from gut dysbiosis. As a steel, I am a great researcher. Okay, so Meg, I think the first thing is to be really clear, who's your customer? Is your customer the actual dog owners that are buying from the breeders, or is your customer the breeder? Right? I mean, you might find that the breeder's just not enough of a customer base. Like, you know, that you might have some people that actually want to work with you, but they're actually wanting to work with you because you know more about the actual dog owners, right? The dog owners might want to work with you because they want to know who the breeders in my area, right? So you get to decide which one of these two you're going to be. Because you've got already perfectmatchpuppy.com, sounds to me like you're already going that pathway where you're actually providing that value to the people who are actually wanting to get the pure breeds in the first place, which I think is great. So like think about it like, well, could I create a certification where anyone who actually is part of our community, they're actually kind of like a guaranteed or like quality controlled kind of like a perfect match breeder, right? Because that's really important. Like for a lot of the people's like, how do I know this is actually a real thoroughbred, right? How do I actually know it's a purebred? Whereas if you actually said, well, we actually check it out. Here's what we do. Here's basically all around the world, or just starting with your country, all the breeders in our country that already we've checked out and that actually have stepped up to say, hey, we're willing to be more transparent, and we've gone through kind of like the assessment, And then people say, well, we want to be part of that because we see the value of being part of that as well. So you setting it up in a way that actually allows you to go down that pathway. There's no question that pet ownership continues to grow, and for you to come from a place where you're providing really lots of value to those people coming on board. They can be buying memberships to get like more connection with other fellow pet breeders as well. You might end up with basically 80% of your money coming from the actual pet owners. Then I mean, like some of the biggest growing pet companies in the world right now are the ones that are actually delivering healthy pet food right now, that are getting into all sorts of like tech, like smart collars to actually like track their animals, or to track their fitness and health and those kind of things as well. You could be offering all of those things as basically the community of all of the different purebred owners in different types of animals, who can then also then find your breeders, where the breeders are the ones that you're then actually providing additional help to actually how they go about doing the best job of building trust with their community and so on. And you will get some people there who will then see the value in you, as opposed to saying, oh, I don't need to be taught what to do, if the only thing you're doing is actually mentoring and training them, right? So really it's about how do you build that community. And I think that's the pathway that, if I was you, that's the pathway I would be going down for sure. The fact that you might want to get into other things, you're onto something good here, right? You just haven't yet built the model absolutely to actually get you to where you want to get to, but you can bring things like health into it, and bring it in specifically for those same health conscious people who happen to be also pet owners, who obviously are wanting the best lifestyle and the best health for their family as well. So that becomes your customer, right? Where you're helping them in all aspects of what they do, whether it is their own personal health or whether it's the health of their pet as well. Emmanuel Carrod says, hi, this is appchocolate.com. Hi, we're currently getting a great success for our free World Cup 2018 app. We've already got 400,000 users on iPhone, iPad, Amazon, and Android. World Cup app Russia 2018, and there's a link here as well. We are quite successful with the App Store SEO on iOS and Android. My big question is how to spread the word of mouth in social media to reach 1 million users for our World Cup 2018 app in June, right? So that's all obviously happening right now. Well, first of all, like, congratulations that that's all like moving the way it's moving. But the biggest thing in all of this is when you give people a chance to engage, not because of your product, but because of what they're going to get from your products. So the fact that basically you could already be doing something which is a sweepstakes on your products, right? You could be doing already a competition as to who's going to be the winner, right? And where people actually are kind of like, downloading the product, keeping up to date with everything on there, and then doing their own kind of like, dream game or dream team, or, I mean, how it goes in terms of like all the different competitions or things you can create, where you can actually, say who's already like predicting like, the winners, and by going down that route, where people are going, wow, look at that. Like there's an app where I could actually get involved with a community of people, and I could be predicting scores, or I could be, saying who's going to be the man of the match, or whatever it is that you set up as kind of like the engagement strategy for people to come on board. We'll get everyone then getting their friends to actually share and get them on board as well, right? I think that is the pathway to making sure that you create something much more viral. And we've seen that every time, right? The moment that you've actually got something which allows people to find out something more about themselves, or to engage in themselves as opposed to just using the product, is what's going to actually make it work. I mean, like even doing like a personality test as to which footballer are you like, right? Is going to make people go and actually just do it just because they're interested in that as well. So just go for something which is going to have a really strong engagement strategy, create a competition of some sort, basically do it in such a way that people are going to say, I need to share this with my friends, right? Because I want my friends to get involved in this competition or into this program as well. Then it's much, much more than just how do we sell the product or get the product out there. That would be what I would do. All right. Let's come, and by the way, that's the same for everyone, right? Whether it's like having an app like Emmanuel, or whether it is your own program, like whether it is, going back to someone like Meg with her kind of like perfect match puppy, doing something which is like a photo competition of puppies, and like a winner for whoever's got like the most awesome, photo of whatever type of breed you're talking about, is going to get everyone then engaged and getting their friends engaged as well. That makes just all the difference as you go. All right, okay, so let's now come over to Julie. We have a few more at the orange to yellow, and then we have got a small number of yellow to green and green to blue. So we have got here right now Julie Stackpole, who says, what are the three main things required to link my personal brand and product brand, i.e. Julie the animal welfare activist and the pet-friendly furniture brand? Well, here's the thing. Julie has got a furniture company where she's so focused at animals that basically what she's now doing, which came out of a Crystal Circle call, is she is creating a pet-friendly furniture brand, right? Which is actually made out of pet-friendly fabrics, which means that cats can't tear through it and all this kind of stuff. Or that you can clean off dog hair really easily. So perfect example, like someone like Julie can already connect up with someone like Meg, where you've got the community of all the pet lovers and pet owners, and then Julie's got the actual furniture, and so can actually be providing like value in there, where you actually do a partnership together and actually make money out of that as well, right? But to answer the question, how do you link the personal brand and product brand? I shared this on the Facebook Live, and I talked about basically how it's always about 3 different things with personal brand and product brand. The first one is always about customer success stories, like where you're involved in a story of some sort. You've seen the videos we do where it's linking my brand in terms of like, hey, Roger helped me to do this and this, but it also links then with our company brand, with Entrepreneurs Institute, with the events that we do, right? So it's always about the successes, first of all, of your customers, right? And then people really get engaged in that, right? So it's like super duper important. So the second one is about what you're offering, which is a value yourself, which are the how-tos. It's like, for Julie to actually be posting, how do you create a pet-friendly space, for example, how do you look after your pet in the most effective way, right? These are things which are all about how do you, when you go traveling, find the right pet-friendly hotels, right? These are all the kind of things which are kind of like the how-tos, where you're then serving that. And the third one is then the things which are now linked to their personal story, the person you're now having that conversation with, right? Which is the way you're engaging and connecting with that person. Like when I'm doing my videos and I'm talking directly to the video to the person who is already my customer, where it's not about trying to teach them something brand new. It's about kind of sharing something that I'm doing which they might have in common with themselves as well on their journey. So something inspiring, something that actually keeps them connected or even more engaged. These 3 different areas, I actually did a post on the Facebook Live that this is how YouTube teaches their YouTubers how to do this. It's called here, like there's 3 H's: hero, hygiene, and hub. Right? So if you actually go and look that up online, you say hero is basically like the viral videos. That's the one which is like the big like the success stories, the big stuff that's out there that gets shared around with everybody. That's the hero videos. The hygiene videos is the one which is kind of like where you're now basically, it's kind of like washing, right? It's keeping it clean, like always like cycling through like the connections that you're actually doing for the people that know you well. And then the hub are basically like the base ones, which are the how-to videos. Is kind of like the ones that people are actually out there searching for. So they're actually out there like saying, how do I do this? How do I do that? And then they're actually finding you through those kind of searches that they're doing. So they may not have known about you before, and then that then grows your audience as well. So just giving you a bit of a idea that all of the top platform companies like Facebook, YouTube already are using these 3 different ways of doing it to link your personal brand with the company brand as well, which is really super important. Okay, we have Michael Bell here. Hi, Roger. After speaking to you at the Perth event in regards to our marketing for the gym, we began upping our marketing like you suggested. We have been offering more lead magnets and free resources, which has increased our sales, so that's awesome. I was wondering if you could suggest some resources into setting up Facebook funnels and landing pages and how best to go about this. What or who would you suggest learning from in regards to marketing, creating a proper plan with measurable steps? Thanks. Okay, well, Michael, you've heard a few things already on this call. Someone like Hannah Power, that's what she does. She's helping us with that as well. We have Suraj, who's sharing all of this information as part of the Leader Circle. So everyone on this call, you're all mentor level, which means you're getting these calls with me and the videos, but you also can go straight onto Suraj's Leader calls because you're all part of that too. And that basically is where he's going through the step-by-step on setting up your digital strategies. You've got a library of things in there where he's gone through how do you set up on Facebook, how do you set up on Google AdWords, how do we do it on things that we do as well. All right, so that basically is like definitely something I would recommend. Some other resources, follow Mary Smith. So if you just go onto Facebook and you look for Mary, M-A-R-I, Smith, Mary Smith, she's a great follower of the work that we do, and I'm a great follower of her work as well. She's Facebook, she's one of the top Facebook experts in America, and she's got loads and loads of resources to actually, you go to marysmith.com, you get all these resources on how do you actually market really effectively on Facebook, what's the pathway to do that, and then once you've got those, then obviously Facebook themselves have got all these different resources. Probably one of the best that links in with Facebook, if you go to Adespresso, which is ADESPRESO, adespresso.com, which basically has a library of all of the very, very best ads on Facebook that allows you to go find the best ads that you would want to use and then actually use those tools. And probably the other tool I would recommend is Woobox, which is WOOBOX.com, which basically gives you all the different tools to really maximize your marketing on Facebook. They'll like sweepstakes programs, contests, all those kind of things. They've got kind of like plugins to use in all those different areas as well, right? So a whole bunch of different things that you can actually go forward with there. But probably out of all of those, the biggest one I would suggest is just tune into Suraj's monthly leader, Genius Leader course that he has, because he's going through all of this and really helping people to go step by step through these as well. When you're at the right, when you think you're at the right level that you want to then go and execute all of this, Michelle is running her Business Accelerator, which is basically a 3-month or 2-month program, which drives forward your promotion plan, so you ensure you're putting all the things in place and that they're measurable. And she's been doing that with lots of our different partners and our different mentors, including people that are actually on this group as well, to make sure you're actually executing on the things that you're actually doing, following all best practice. Okay, we have Big Bull Kathleen here. Awesome event in Brisbane. Learned a lot. Thanks, Roger and the team! ! After exiting from my first edtech startup about 5 months ago, I'm now heading up Venture Lean. Venture Lean is a group of startup enthusiasts, founders, developers, and product hackers who build tech product or a minimal viable product or minimal marketable product on a startup bootstrap friendly payment plan. One of our popular products is Startup as a Service. We help creative and non-technical founders build lean MMPs and get it to market and test their hypothesis quickly. For an industry point of view, we're halfway between the incubator and a development shop, and we try to position ourselves as a pre-accelerator. So the question, lately we've been getting many requests from founders who have already built the product startup and would need assistance from us with things like getting their first 100 customers, seed, pre-series A capital, etc. We really want to leverage from these inquiries and serve our customers. However, we are not a VC fund at this stage. We can simply refer them to VCs in our network. It would be great to align VR with VC funds, somehow at a strategic level. And I was wondering if you can share your knowledge and insights on how I go about building this last piece of the missing link in our company. Well, the first thing is it definitely makes sense to be able to actually have that next step. You know, the fact that you've got people that are at that early stage are going to get to a point where they actually want to get to Series A, right? So you want to actually have a pathway that allows them to move into that. Secondly, that's actually what we're doing already, right? I mean, we've actually got a number of different ways we're doing it. The first one is like we're partnered up with WeWork for a blockchain accelerator. So having an accelerator as a partnership, we're then partnered up also with funds, including our own Alchemy fund, to like put in £100,000 to the winner. But that's like so you could actually do that as an accelerator. You don't need to do it yourself either. You can partner up with another accelerator, say we've got these people coming through, we want to work with you where we can make some money, you can make some money, and then we're actually helping these people to make this transition. So you can do that too. The other thing that I'm involved in is something called the Founders Coaching Pause, which is set up with a VC and also with a trainer. That happens in Bali, which are companies that are Series A going to Series B, and we set up something called the Southeast Asia Founders Club, which is a lot of those kind of like fast growth tech companies in Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, and they all basically meet up with monthly meetups as well. So those are the kind of programs work really, really well. So if you think, well, it's too much of an effort for us to go and try and create this as another product, partner with someone to do that next level product, but you definitely should do that and use like these models that I'm just talking about here as examples of that as well. One other example I'd give you is basically by 2 members of GEM who also are Crystal Circle members, and that basically is a company which now does something called the Futurist Collective, right? So this is Lisa and Ellie. So Lisa Brinkat, you can find her online, or Eliane, and they basically have created effectively like a group where people come together and then they actually learn about the latest things that they can be doing, both to invest in startups that are growing and also for startups to get connected in with the guys that are out there doing that job as well, right? So these are all examples of people that you can actually connect up with in order for you to not have to figure it out for yourself. But you do want to have that next level product, obviously, because you've got people asking for it as well. So that's what I would do if I was you. We have Rensky Carbone here who says, from colorsofaustralia.com, we work globally with small and medium-sized businesses and customers, and one of my sticking points is freight. It stops us dealing with smaller customers outside of Australia, but we get regular inquiries. Is there a solution that is workable and doesn't price the products out of the market? We mainly sell wholesale. So this basically, I talked about this on the call as well. There are a whole bunch of fulfillment houses you can look at, like in Australia and Asia. There's a whole bunch of pick and pack companies that will kind of take it all and then ship it out into any part of. So you should definitely be working with someone like that. Obviously, Amazon's doing it too. And even though you're working wholesale, Amazon still works to ship fulfillment wholesale as well, right? They do that too. So that's definitely don't try and do it yourself, but get partnered up with someone that can do that for you. And I know, we're going to talk on our call coming up around how you actually set up a license model, so different countries can then basically be your representatives there, where they can actually hold stock potentially locally in every place, which is a bit like what you heard earlier Allison's going to do with Aquamarine, which then makes life a whole lot easier for you as well, right? But that I did talk about that on the Facebook Live as well, that product-based companies need to have a localized model, different from a digital company that can basically run everything centrally because it's digital, right? There's no delivery cost. Okay, let's come over to Aldona here. Aldona says, hi Roger, since our last call, our South African prospective client in our cable business turned out to be another lemon. We had small but constant orders from our old clients. My question this time is, how do you advertise or market a unique product to a unique customer? So she has cables that she's selling to a very specific niche customer. We have already tried trade fairs and we're working on referrals. We're stuck with our own advertising ideas. You cannot advertise customer-made cables the same way as internet courses. A freebie book for an email is not going to do much in this case. Facebook advertising is excellent for selling courses or pet products, but how do you find an audience that buys electric cables? I've tried to do a mock ad, but engineering, electrical, and building audiences on Facebook runs into millions, and this is not what we're looking for. We're looking for people who work in procurement ordering such products. We have tried a Facebook ad, but this gets hardly any, that's not the way to go. Definitely not Facebook, but I'll share what we should do in a moment. We have good relations with our current clients. We just need more of them. I'd appreciate some constructive ideas. Thank you. So Donna, biggest thing is knowing the difference of the net and the line. The fishing line is when you're actually going out with the right fishing line bait for the right fish, whereas the net will capture everything, right? So when we're talking about something like, a pathway of freebies that lead to, some low end product and so on, that's really talking about the net. Whereas what you're doing is much more the line, which is again, much more like, B2C, right? Or sorry, B2B, which is it's like, how do we get to a particular business? Now, the good news is that right now it's actually very easy to find people on LinkedIn across every different aspect. So the biggest thing is for you to be sitting down with your sales team and say, well, right now today, there are people waking up and they actually are asking themselves, how do we get a smarter way for us to actually get our supplies on cables, right? Like, who are those people, right? Because you know who they are, right? And if you actually said, right, let's actually take you have your geographic, you have a demographic, right? Our geographic is like South Africa or maybe all of Africa. You choose which countries. Right? Our demographic is going to be these specific types of companies. Let's go out there and let's zoom in and actually not stop until we get our next 50 or maybe start with 20 actual companies, and then let's find out who in those companies are the right people, and we can reach out to them still online. You can actually go to them on LinkedIn. You can go to and get in contact with those specific people and find out exactly what it is that they're actually doing right now and how you can actually beat the competition to actually be offering your product instead of others as well. Then you can then set up your discovery mornings where people can come along in groups of 3 or 5 people, learn what it is that you're doing differently, help them solve their problem, for them to then build trust with you and go, wow, that was actually really valuable for us to see. If you want to go one-on-one to people, that's okay as well to start with. But the fundamental thing is that you're aiming to build a community of people that are finding a smart way or a smart solution that you're helping them to solve, which then allows them to go and refer to other people they know as well, right? Because you're not getting that referral base at the same way. So you've got happy customers, but you don't have that trigger of what's making them refer others, and you don't have that ongoing flow of new customers coming your way, which would be there if you set up a CRM system and get yourself your target audience of the people you want to get connected to, and then you're out there basically letting them know what it is that you can do to offer them a better service, right? That's the way that you're going to actually double the size of your business right now. The other thing is going to your top clients and saying to them, what else do you need from us, right? Because there's probably other things that you may not be offering to them right now, which by offering that would actually double your sales right away with the top people already you're working with, right? Easiest way for any of you to double your sales is go to your top clients and see what else they want to buy, because you've already got trust with them, you've already got flow with them, and there's always going to be something else that they actually want to have your help with if they already are your raving fans. You may not just have had that conversation with them yet as well, right? Okay, Gareth Thompson has got here, solve.earth. I have started a company to inspire and educate young people to become eco-entrepreneurs and build green businesses. I have 2 customers who have completed my brand new online introduction course. I got them from referrals. I have not yet commenced promotion of the course. What is the most effective way to promote my course as a first step? So this was another one of the, I think it's the final one that we actually, or the first one that we actually had on our call, the Facebook Live, where I was saying, well, it's great that you've already got to level 1 business, which is what you've got with your kind of 2 customers. And to go from that up to the 10 is all about getting success stories from those first people that have come on board, right? So that's the first thing, making sure that you've actually got your target hot list of the ones you're now going to go work with as well. I mean, again, Gareth, you've heard me talk about a few other people on this list, people like Woontan that already are actually out there working with green entrepreneurs, right? And so go connect with these guys and say, hey, why don't I offer my course also to your clients and vice versa, right? I mean, like that makes life so much easier, partnering up with others. And that's really what the Orange to Yellow is all about, creating a customer pathway where you then actually can have others come on board as well. So that's what I would do. Make sure you have your free like entry level to get people on board. Make sure that you're just focusing at how do I get from 2 to 10, not 2 to 100, just 2 to 10 to start with. Get there in the next month. Then we can talk about how to get from 10 to 100, right? And it's going to happen by basically just getting that list of people that are the right people, making those personal contacts with them, as we've said from some of the other conversations already on this video, and then basically just take it slowly, one step at a time, get those first 10, get their success stories. Then it becomes easy to now leverage with a better landing page and a smoother pathway to get to the 100 from there. Okay, so we have Jasper here from Ouroboros that works. Hi, Roger. Question on sales strategy on our new mastermind for circular economy. Targeting CEOs and top executives with authority and mandate that are already dedicated to a sustainable future. Another one, right? Jasper, also, obviously, of Ouroboros, another green company. So you guys definitely should be working with each other. Don't have a strong network for this group. So we have a professional meeting broker setting up meetings for me with CEO candidates, and got one working on another, sales partnerships to get foot in the door. Any inputs on the approach and what else to do to get fast and strong connections to C-level people? PS, I'm a star. Stars are great at actually running workshops or bringing programs where top level people come together, right? And one of the most important things when you're at a CEO level is definitely you want to be invited into things, but people at the CEO level have even more of a fear of missing out than someone who's just getting started, because they're already building their credibility as they go. If someone at CEO level knows that there are other CEOs that are meeting up for something and they're not invited, they're going to want to be invited, right? If they know that there's something where other CEOs are going to show up, and they've been invited, they're going to show up because they don't want to miss out on that as well, right? So what's really important is for you to look and say, right, what can I actually run every single month, which would be like a exclusive breakfast meeting or exclusive session with a number of CEOs, with someone that's like got a good brand name, that's going to come along and people can hear from, and where it's exclusive, right? Where we're only having half a dozen or a dozen people showing up for it, right? So it's not like a big event, right? And where people are actually handpicked to actually be invited, and you're inviting people to come along to that, where people then get to know who you are, what you do, get to see the value of what you're doing while they're also getting value themselves, right? And then from there, you're then following it up with one-on-one conversations, which you can actually book while you're there. You can say, like, over the next 2 days, we're actually going to have these sessions together with CEOs, or over the next week, right? And whoever you're interested, we're going to follow up with you and get you booked into one of these sessions, find out who's interested right then and there, right? That can get you qualified leads off the back of the fact they go, I don't want to miss out on this because these guys seem to know all the right people, and they're also moving forward with something which I really should be a part of as well. So that's the way that someone like a star would then actually be growing with the right audience as opposed to the wrong audience. And we heard of that earlier as well, that it's got to be the people at the right level that you're inviting in. Be really aware that at the base level, when people are just getting started, people aren't that worried about whether they're getting invited into something or not. They're already going out trying to join everything. But once you get to a high level, people are always going to be the ones that are wanting to feel very, very special. And if they feel they have to queue up like everyone else or go in the same door as everyone else, they're not going to do it. But if they're actually given like an exclusive door or an exclusive pass to come in a different way, they'll take that. Because everyone wants to feel special at that high level as well. Okay, let's come now over to Gabby Almeida, who says, hi Roger, thanks for last month's idea of Mini Gabby Outdoors Mural Exhibition, like the elephants and the Olympic mascot in London. I think this is perfect. I have a few ideas, but could you please advise me on the specifics of how I can make this happen and get the artwork in the right outdoor spaces? Thank you. Well, here's the good news. We are now living in a time where there are so many different companies that are location-based, whether it's co-working spaces, whether it is shopping centers, whether it's schools, that actually have spaces outdoors where they're looking to bring art into their space. So Gabby, for you to actually know that you putting your artwork into a space is solving someone's problem, right? Where they're actually looking to also bring something new or self-expression into their space as well. So you need to, same thing, put down a list of just 10 people who would be the 10 people in London that already, and you can go actually just ask around, right? Who already has got a space where they're looking already, or they're wanting to have a way to stand out, a way to engage the local community, right? And go focus at those people and actually say, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm looking for right now. And you will find just by those conversations that opens doors in other places. Even if it's not the right place and they go, no, we're not actually doing anything like that right now, they will know of others that are doing that too. Go one level above that. Go to the actual like local councils, right? Go to the ones that are actually already looking at how they can actually get their own art out as well. Follow this breadcrumbs. Go to basically the Art Council and to others that already are doing things in public spaces and see how they're actually getting out to those spaces. And go basically like do a news search to see in London like what are new public artwork that's just appeared in the last 6 months, and go to the people that actually had that public. Hey, how did you get that in there? So, I spoke to such and such. This happened, right? And then it becomes really easy because you're just following the flow, right? So this is what I mean about following the flow, but using your brand then to actually get the right partnerships in place. Okay, we've got Maggie here. Really enjoyed being in Brisbane and the wonderful sense of community. It is so something I missed. I signed up for the Genius U a year ago now, but I've had 3 operations this year, so just let it go. I need to go back to scratch and start from the beginning again. That will start this weekend. Best way to summarize is to say there is a micro Maggie, the speaker, best-selling author, coach, and a macro Maggie who is on the advisory board of 6 businesses funded by my partners in GCC and Rockstar Hubs out of London. You know the lads as they were sponsors with you of the Startup Battle. I have been consulting as my major source of income for the last 7 years, for the last few years, but that bore the pants off me and is not what I want to put I've not put on the planet to do. It is to speak about and do workshops on building resilience and wellness on a micro level. On a macro one, I am speaking for the lads at events about the Free Power and Water Foundation we will be launching in the next 6 months. So now I'm a lot better. I'm intending to come to Bali on July 21st, 22nd, which is awesome. And also have an iLab in Bali as well, dates of which are now in October. I believe I need help building a team to help me market my heart, math, and wellness at work events, especially as the most stressed out people I know are entrepreneurs and people running startups. But I have no idea where to start finding event managers. If I remember rightly, from a year ago, I'm a supporter, though intuitively I reckon there's a bit of a star there too. I need to go back to scratch as mentioned. Okay, so, and I feel like I've come home. So not actually a question there as maybe a recommendation. So great for you to be on this journey with us, Maggie. What I would say is because of the things you're doing with heart math, and if anyone here is interested in heart math, is really awesome. It basically is kind of like tech which allows you to get into your zone, right? And also the wellness at work side. There's already a number of people in our network, including like the whole health dynamics community, what Joe's running, where we want to bring heart math into health dynamics. The wellness at work is something that Jacqueline was working together with. Jacqueline Pigden, who I mentioned earlier, is working with Joe Formosa on actually how do we actually bring this into health dynamics into corporate side as well. So we really got like all of these different communities where there's really a support for you as well. So my recommendation, just like I said earlier to some of the others, is take it step by step. Like, don't be asking the question, how do I get my team around me? Because you're just getting started, but the other way around. To be honest, this is more a red to orange question, which is like, how do you get connected into the right team? So go on to Genius U, join, the health dynamics and the health communities. Get into the conversation there, see what people are up to. See how you can be of service and value to them as well with all the things you want to bring into as well. And then those opportunities will just show up, right? That's the pathway, and don't be like too impatient. Just like take it one step at a time as you do it, right? And then you'll find that within 3 months you can achieve a huge amount, getting connected into the right people, starting to make money, and then you'll start finding the right team. If you want to find a good team joining you, join a good team first, right? Okay, now we've got Rodney Young here, who says, I have a successful electronics research, design, and manufacturing firm based in Brisbane. Staff of 26 at the moment. I have had my companies for 35 years. Do not have clear direction for what my firm really does. My clients include Boeing, CT Healthcare, and Rio Tinto. Does it really matter that I don't know what an ideal client is? I struggle to find the actual why for my firm or me for that matter. Yeah, perfect example, right? So Rodney obviously has built himself, is mastersyoung.com.au, through his own skill set of being an inventor, has built himself these top clients, but it's still his time. And it will always be that when you're not really clear who the client is, because as long as you haven't yet productized what you're doing in a way that clients around the world can then actually work with other partners, not just you, to get to the value, then you can never actually grow. So I know many people that have actually gone out there and just taken any kind of client for their health business or any kind of client for their tech business, and then wondered why they couldn't grow, right? And it's because there's actually no clear messaging for people that don't know them as to why they would actually work with this company, because they're not actually solving a very specific problem for a specific client. And so as long as people know you, you're fine, because then it's like, oh, I know Rodney. Yeah, Rodney's going to help me. But if they don't know who Rodney is, then you're not going to be able to grow to clients beyond that, right? So yes, it's really important to know who your client is and what you're delivering to the client. I know we spoke about this because Rodney is also part of Crystal Circle, and we spoke about basically like a number of different options where Rodney is actually going out to companies that have large, complex issues, and he's actually able to solve them in really smart technological ways. So there is already a unique kind of like niche of clients that Rodney's already identified. We're going to see that over the coming year, just how much that actually is going to change his business as he grows it as well, which is going to be very exciting. Let's come over now to some of the yellow to green, right? We're coming to the kind of final few questions here. All right, so we have here Sebastian from Infrared Saunas. Hey Roger, thanks for an awesome event in Brisbane. I think it was the best ever. We found partnering with employees is a great way to keep salary low and motivation through profit sharing high. And by the way, Sebastian actually started Infrared or Red Level when he first joined GEM. He's been on for several years now, and his business is now in the multiple millions with the Infrared sauna really growing, which is great. So it's great, I like to see that become a yellow to green business, as many of yours will be as we go through this year as well. So partnerships. Sharing cost of revenue from expos and trade shows. We see many more opportunities to partner with employees on current side projects and potential joint ventures. What is your ideal share that you give away when partnering? I heard you saying in Brisbane 90%. Does that percent depend on current already secure income, or what criteria do you use to determine the percentage? Any comments on this would be very awesome. Thank you, Sebastian. No, it's not really just 90%. It's about us dividing up like the 100% into different areas depending on what kind of partnership. So generally partnerships will always link into one of four different types. You're going to have marketing partnerships, which are people helping you to market. That means that they do the bit, which is bringing someone on board who then is a qualified prospect who really wants to buy something, right? Then you have your sales partnerships with the people that actually are the ones generating the sales, where you're taking someone who's already really qualified and actually getting them to make a decision to buy something. Then you're going to have your delivery partnerships, which are the people that actually are going to deliver the actual product itself. So if you're a trainer or if you're an accountant or you're a lawyer, then it's the delivery of the content. And then you're going to have your content partners, who are the ones that actually are there to actually create the IP and keep a percentage of that as well, right? So the way we normally do it is we say, well, and it's different for every industry, but generally, up to 20% for marketing. You could do that for your saunas. Someone who's a marketing partner would say, well, we'll keep 20%. You get to keep the other 80%, but that means you've got to do the rest. You've got to make the sale. You've got to do the delivery. You've got to provide all the service and everything like that, right? And you've given away 20% to do that. If someone actually brings you the actual order, right, then you can give away 30%, right? 10% for the sales, 20% for marketing, 10% for sales. Normally about 30% for the delivery, right? And in your case, your product costs are probably a bit more than 30%. And then like about 10% for the content. You don't need to worry about the content side because you're already like buying these wholesale from the actual sauna suppliers. So it really is much more about basically that front end, someone who's going to do a partnership with you where they keep a percentage of the front end, which is going to be like 20 or 30% is in my view, allowing you to then deliver the rest, right, as you go. At some point, you can actually create country licenses where you actually say, like, a bit like a master franchise, where you say, right, is there a bigger percentage we can now afford to give to someone, like 40% in total, or even 50% if you think you can make it work, which then allows them to still give away the 30% and still actually make 10 or 20% profit themselves, right? So you dividing it up is all going to be dependent on basically your market. The good news is that pretty much with any product very similar to the ones that you have, there are others around the world that already have figured out what works in the marketplace and what people expect. So go look for that as well. Like property's got a whole different deal where the property agent obviously doesn't make 20% on that, right? They're making a lot less because of the way that the property market works, right? So every one of them is different. You've got to know what it is for your industry. But rule of thumb is pretty much what I said. Okay, Nina Fountain. I am a creator with a consulting business that works with leaders of distributed and flexible teams to create successful communication, real personal connection, and a winning team culture. I'm looking for a blaze to successful communication, I'm looking for a place to provide commission-based sales or business development services. What is a reasonable percentage of sales for them to charge? And what would make them too expensive apart from not being able to deliver on leads and not matching service? Perfect example, right? So this is actually where so what's really important is that too many people think when I get a salesperson, they're going to go prospecting, find the clients, and then also turn them into actual customers, right? It doesn't work that way anymore, right? I mean, like it's better to actually help that salesperson by bringing them qualified leads already because the person who's really good at bringing in qualified leads is usually different from the person who's really good at actually having a conversation and persuading that customer that this is the right thing for them, right? So we do that within our organization. We have our Genius Igniters, where we're just providing qualified leads on different products, and then Genius Igniter will have the conversation, and from there, it'll be like 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 2 people then decide to buy something. So you want to, and always know, sales and services become the same thing today, right? I mean, you'll make more sales by providing good service and having people repeat buy from you than just going out trying to chase new customers the whole time as well. So what I would say is you bring someone on board who's actually going to be providing training services, or like in your case, what I would say is that is something where you're going to give them about 10%. If they're going to provide the marketing side, well then they bring their own leads in, well then give them 30%, right? But also have that 20% so you can actually use that in other ways too. So we will do 20%, up to 20% in marketing commissions for our partners, right? And usually like 10% leading up to 20% if they do a lot for us. We will also put up to 20% in our Facebook advertising or our Google advertising, where we'll say for every $100 that we spend in advertising, we expect to make $500 back, right? So we'd expect it to be about 20%. So it means that it's the same budget for pretty much whichever way we decide to do it. In your case, that's how I would do it to bring the right person in. And in terms of how much they make, that would then depend on basically what you think. I find out what they want to make, right? They might say, I want to make $5,000 a month. Okay, well, if you're actually like getting 10% on selling these products, you'd need to sell $50,000 of those, and you'd make your 5,000, right? You know, our product costs 10,000. It means you're going to sell 5 in the quarter. In the month. Is actually doable, right? And test it to see if you can actually do it yourself before you ask someone else to do it. So if they go, oh, you did it, well, it means I can do it too. Then train them up to actually get that job done, and then you're setting yourself up for success, right? That's the way to do it. Now that's the way we've done it as well. Okay, let's come over next to Lucy, Get Shit Done Preble. Okay, Lucy, hi Roger. We own a niche marketing agency working with business coaches and consultants globally. We help amplify and monetize purpose-driven humans influenced by putting them in front of more people so they can give back and live their best life. Question: if you were going to make major change in the conventional education system, where would you start? Great question, Lucy, and the answer is we are starting. This is what Genius School is all about, right? And it actually starts by realizing that someone needs to fund the change, because everyone knows the whole system needs to change. It's not going to be parents that fund the change most of the time, because they're already spending all their money on their education. It's not the kids because they don't have money yet. It's not the teachers because the teachers already are stuck in a system where they already don't have extra money to spend, right? So while there are models that you actually can get the parents to spend some, or you can get the teachers to spend some, and we have people in our community, someone like Shanette Bassenwood, who's in England with her Spread the Happiness campaign. She does have schools who actually pay to have her go in there and actually really make it a happy school. Or we do have some of the people in Genius School who, like for example, Sarah Marek, who's in New Zealand, who's actually getting parents to pay to put their kids into these micro camps. But it's really what's really making it work are like what people like Sandy Herrera, who's in Las Vegas, is done, which is actually, and same with Radka in Czech Republic, where they've actually got companies who are actually paying or supporting the education for the kids, right? Because in the same way that students have a challenge finding a job after they leave school, well, companies have a challenge finding conscious leaders to come work with them with the right skill set. So they're willing to actually put the money in to actually help those kids to get a better education as well. So the key is to start with the model. And the key starts by working with the right people. So come work with us on Genius School, right? Get connected with Angie Stead, who's leading the Genius School right now. And between her and Rastika Lam and a whole awesome group of people around the world, we basically have got our Genius camps coming up, and we're rolling out the Genius curriculum as well. So that's what I would do, but that's what we are doing as well. And I think that's a really, really great pathway for you to take as well, Lucy. We have Camilla here from Ouroboros.work. Hi, Roger. As part of our overall map of product pathways and customer journeys, I'm looking at developing a specific train-the-trainer pathway. The final stages of this could lead into a partnership pathway, but that's not necessarily where it starts out, although it could be as well. There are certain subcategories of our avatar today already asking for this, and especially when it comes to what tools we use for facilitation of a circular economy mindset. Okay, so what would be the natural flow of steps through such a pathway? Any input? Absolutely, Camilla. This is exactly what we do already with our flow consulting and our performance consulting. It's what we now do in Genius U with our mentor level, where pretty much everything from health dynamics with the health dynamics consultants through to Genius School with the Genius School educators, that we're finding that really you could almost treat the very first certification you do as the end of your customer pathway, right? That customers are coming in and go, I love this so much, I want to teach other people, right? And then they then become your partners, right? So much today, communities are not just about people that are coming in because they want to serve is community people coming in wanting to help those who want to serve, right? And so by you actually saying, right, I'm gonna actually set up something which you can actually take exactly the same pathway as what we've done as well. Like Michelle's doing this really, really well, where she's showing people how on Genius U to not just create micro degrees, but how to create certification programs that people can then actually get certified on there. Our certifications cost like $1,500. Someone gets certified, they get the badge, they then actually become a mentor that can then go out and train other people as well and track their training on Genius U. It's the most natural thing to do. You definitely should be doing it, and actually then giving people a pathway where they can actually do an online training course that teaches them how to do this, and then you give them the products that they can then deliver, right? So it's like, okay, how could you get other people to train on your products too? You might decide you don't want to start by just letting anyone do this. You want to start by just bringing your first 3 trainers on board. We're doing a master trainer level, which is happening in July. There's some of you coming to Exponential Entrepreneur are coming earlier for a master trainer level, where because I can't be doing all the talks around the world because there's so many of them happening now, I need some master trainers that can do that. So people are coming out to train on how to speak on stage, how to create basically their own persona and their own branding as well. And then we support them on doing that to effectively be part of our global faculty. But all of that is always about basically saying, okay, whatever it is that is your bottleneck, and if your bottleneck is getting the training out there, turn that problem into a profit, right? By actually setting up that certification program to do that. And just follow along with the things we do to really make sure that you're not having to recreate the wheel as well, right? Okay, we are just coming up to the end of this. So thank you for everyone who's listened all the way through this epic video. I think it's probably one of the longest videos we've done here. Here's Manuela, who says, how to scale a consultancy business. Well, we just kind of talked about that, right? I'm a registered migration agent and provide advice and assistance to individuals and businesses regarding visa and immigration matters in Australia. For this, I'm required by law to hold a special license. I have admin assistants, but I'm the only RMA in my business, which means I am the only one who can do consultations and provide advice. The consequence is that I'm working in the business instead of on the business. I'm in a full capacity, but there's so much more potential for growth. How to scale? So there's 2 ways to scale. Remember, leverage is all about magnify and multiply. So the way to magnify is that I only need 1 RMA, because I can actually have other things that I actually deliver, which is the admin side, or which is basically the initial consultation, or which is the follow-ups, where I don't have to have someone licensed to do that. So I'll basically have a team around me where I can then actually have 2 or 3 times as many customers, because I'm only going to be spending this much time, which is the stuff that the license actually requires, and then others will then support me with the other work around it, right? That's the magnify strategy, which is how can this only be done with me? There's also the multiply strategy, which is how can this be done without me? Well, you're not going to be there. The obvious answer to that is get a second RMA, right? Get a second person who's also registered micro agent to come and join you. And it's actually quite easy to do that. You can go and actually just look at the guys that are getting qualified right now who don't have the same deal flow that you have and are trying to figure out how to get started. You can say, hey, I've actually got a position for someone to come and work with me where you're going to get the benefit of actually having an ongoing flow of new customers by working with me instead of trying to figure it out for yourself. And you're no question, if you go out, you're going to find some people there who are really good at advising, but not so good at building their business. So they're going to come and join you as well. It's how legal practices get launched. It's how medical centers get launched. Anyone can be a doctor or anyone can be a lawyer, but actually teaming up with others actually again gives you economies of scale, where one person is better at running the business than the others, and everyone's then willing to kind of like step up to help that person run a bigger business, and they can then bring their skill sets in where they then end up with more money and more business than if they just try to figure it out for themselves, right? That's the way for you to build the business to the next level, for sure. Okay, let's come over to our final questions, which are on the green to blue. I think we've got 2 questions here that are going to wrap this up. We have here Chandrish Pala from Cohesia.com. I'm working on improving. So I mentioned Chandrish earlier, working together with John Masters on the You Buddy project, and Chandrish has a number of other companies he invests in as well. I'm working on, and this is a perfect example of like, again, longevity, right? I think Chandrish I worked with for maybe 5 years, where he kind of went from infrared level all the way up to blue level now, where he's now investing in other companies. I'm working on improving my Anchor Your Authority status on the blue level playbook. How important is building a personal brand at this stage, using blogs, articles, public speaking, PR, etc.? Alternatively, as a conductor, should I purely focus on building the cash generating portfolio and team structure as the highest priorities and allow them to promote their brands? Would that be sufficient to attract the high level leaders, resources, and opportunities? No, Chandrish, you do actually need to go out there and also build your brand. Now, it doesn't mean build your brand to everyone, but build your brand to your ideal audience. Like, even if you actually just got a think tank of people together who also were looking for the same kind of opportunities you were looking for and met up with them every month, right? Even if you just like got known within the angel investor community, that still is about doing this, is getting connected to other people that already are playing the same game as you. So it doesn't have to be a mass scale where you're trying to kind of go out and get 1 million people follow you, but it is about, right, how can I get at least 100 to 1,000 people who are at the blue level that are actually interested in what I have to say, where you're getting connected to them and vice versa. Using Twitter to do that is probably the best way, because a lot of the top guys out there already are using Twitter, and then getting connected with them, sharing what they're sharing, getting connected in to the like tech companies you want to support. Like you could actually go out and say, right, I'm going to be known for one of the best investors, one of the best go-to investors in the UK for augmented reality, for example, right, or for artificial intelligence, and then you then get connected to others who are doing this. Take Thomas Power as a really good example of someone who does this really well, where he basically now is really focused at blockchain, and so everything he's posting on Twitter, everything he's doing connecting is basically the very latest things, and he's in conversation with many of the people out there as well. That's what someone at Blue Level is doing. That's what it means to anchor your authority. You become an authority in that field. Okay, we have Fran of fridaysjetskis.com.au. Hi Roger, we currently run a successful power sports business at level yellow at the moment, ready to move the business to green. I'd like to start planning out our second business. However, due to the nature of the business, we would be looking for investors. Can you tell me what investor looks for when investing in a new startup or business, apart from the obvious, e.g. the business plan? Well, the reality is they don't actually look at the business plan anymore. Like, things have really changed. So I know on the last Crystal Circle call, we went through the top 30 pitch decks. The biggest thing they're looking for is your pitch deck. Right, and the pitch deck, if you actually read the book Art of the Start, which is like Guy Kawasaki's book, that's basically the pitch deck that all the best companies out there do. But even if you just Google, 30 legendary pitch decks, you'll see Facebook's pitch deck, YouTube's pitch deck, Airbnb's pitch deck. Like, all these companies started with a pitch deck, which is basically 10 pages or 10 slides on basically where they were going, what it was going to look like, how they were going to dominate their market. And basically they all have the same format. So we'll definitely talk about how we set up your pitch deck for the new business and the way to grow it. But that is definitely the very, very first step. And even just going out and getting inspired by these other companies that all had a pitch deck before they had $1 billion business is a really good way to see that we've moved a long way from the days when people were just putting business plans together. So that's what I would share as a final bit of action for any of you who are actually looking at raising funds and have already kind of like earned the right to be able to do that, because you've already built a track record with a current business that you're running as well. And with that being shared, we have gone through an hour and 45 minutes of awesome questions, and we have got a super exciting next 30 days coming up, where those of you coming out on Expert Entrepreneur, you'll see us out there in Bali. We have got our performance consulting and master trainer training also happening out in Bali. We have our very first iLab at our Tower Resort in our game reserve in South Africa. Plus we have our next iLab also happening, which I'll be at which is Full House in Bali. So lots and lots of activity and exciting things going on. I will be taking a group, I think we have about 60 of our Crystal Circle members on a trip to China and Japan for 12 days of the Zodiac, leading up to the 7th of August, which is my 50th birthday. And we will be basically kind of like sending you an update from out there as well. So do stay tuned for that. And otherwise, have a fabulous month ahead, everyone. And we'll catch up with you all on our next call. See you all later.